Welcome, amnesiac ghosts, backstabbing friends, and deadbeat fathers, to episode 394 of an Unearthly podcast, streaming live on the 24th of March, 2021, and featuring Torchwood Random Shoes, written by Jaquetta May and starring John Barrowman as Captain Jack Harkness, Eve Miles as Gwen Cooper, Bern Gorman as Owen Harper, Naoko Mori as Toshiko Sato, and Gareth David-Lloyd as Yanto Jones. I am Bill Sylvia, the Man in Black, and I could use some new shoes, actually. With me are Randy Ronson McCulloch.
Am I dead is a question I ask myself when I wake up every morning.
Mad Matt Winchell.
Rule 1 of drinking, time it. Rule 2, hydrate with water.
And Thomas Fireheart.
No Gwen and Owen stuff, thank God.
Gwen and Owen bickering was the largest part of the cast actually being in the episode.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah. Still, they don't fuck, so thank God.
This is the everyone except for Gwen Light episode.
Yeah. I can't remember if one of the episodes coming up is Gwen Light, so that they did a trade-off, but that's usually
probably the one with the time travel.
Yeah, actually, the one with the time travelers focuses on the others a bit more. That's the next one, apparently, so.
Oh,
cheers.
yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah. All right, so how's everybody's week been?
Yep.
Not too bad. I actually finally got some writing done for the first time in like a billion years, it feels like. Just randomly got inspiration to write something on like Saturday morning. I mean, like, it was one of those things where it's like, wow, getting inspired to write like 1,600 words in 2 hours was kind of nice, but I wish it hadn't happened at like 4 in the fucking morning.
Yeah, that's what happens with writing. It never is when you want it. It just suddenly, hey, yeah, I've got an idea. Used to happen to me when I was driving between home and school.
Oh yeah, that happened all the time when I used to have an hour walk to work and back. All the time. Oh, in my own week, I got rejected for a fellowship I applied for. But on the plus side, all of the feedback was good, considering the fact that I didn't even come up with the research plan until about 3 weeks before the application was due, and we were kind of rushing it through the drafting process. So, given that information, I actually got some pretty good reviews on it.
Yeah.
My week has been mostly uneventful, other than my sleeping habit has gotten really wonky, which is why I've turned to drinking tonight.
Yeah.
Over the weekend, we got some Door County wine, and I am trying out the honey mead, which is absolutely freaking delicious. But then I started to feel a little, and so I need some water. But I hope to drink enough that I'll be blasted enough to possibly just go right to bed after the podcast. Cheers.
Great. So Matt's drunk casting.
The keyboard has been drinking.
By the end of the podcast, he's going to sound like it's freaking Lotro character after it's tied on a few.
No, I'm not going to sound like the old hermit guy from Blazing Saddles, thank you.
The important thing is he doesn't get distracted and start Googling things on stream.
Yeah, if he gets really distracted and starts watching porn, we've got a problem.
Yeah, Twitch might not appreciate that. YouTube certainly wouldn't.
I hope I'm searching in the right engine on the right window. Which one's Firefox and which one's Chrome? Roll the dice.
Well, I had a non-week. Somebody had said that even though I was listed as a dependent on my taxes, I was eligible for the big the big $1,400 tax check. Aaron checked yesterday, and that person was wrong.
I think people are misunderstanding the wording, because I remember seeing something saying there was more money for independents, but college students were taking that to mean that it was getting sent directly to the dependents.
Yeah, some people are just shouldn't be allowed to make a say on anything unless they know 100% what's actually going on there.
Yeah. Other than that, it's been kind of a dead week. I'm still getting over that touch of gout I had. Not allowed to have fish until next week.
I started playing Stardew Valley for my single-player game. That got a bit of interest from people, apparently. I still need to find the fishing mod. Apparently there's a mod out there to fix the fishing, because the fishing's terrible in that game. Literally, there's a bar with a fish, and there's a bar for how much your fishing rod can handle, and none of it makes any sense, and I just lose fish like 97% of the time. So it's just like, okay, is there an alternative? And one of mine and Randy's mutual friends mentioned the fact that there's apparently a mod out there that just allows you to get the fish as soon as you get the indicator that you found something. I'm fine with this option. It's Minecraft.
Yeah, well, we added a fishing mod onto Conan Exiles this week, and it works a little too well.
And anytime you say fishing mod, my first thought is you're saying fishing with a PH, and I'm like, why are you fishing people?
Bad Bill, wrong. Go lay down.
But no, we added that mod 2 days ago, and this morning I went to clean out all the fish traps, and I wound up having to add more refrigerators into my base because holy crap, the amount of fish it came up with.
I got him.
Yeah. We had somebody else join our server today. And I was kind of leading him around for most of the afternoon until it was time to set up for the podcast. That brings the total people on our server up to 8. Not a big server. We're not doing PvP. We're not doing the big, 30 people PvP stuff.
Yeah.
We just wander around, explore, try the new stuff, and
actually, that'd be fun to do one day. Just split the server 50-50 and have a big fight in the middle.
yeah, except
right near the tower.
Except the admin is Sarah.
Not allowed to cheat.
No, she just hates PvP.
That's the only excuse?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, we got a bit on tonight's show, so let's get started. We have birthdays, and quite a few of them. We have some news. I have to break the rumor mill yet again.
Oh.
Let's see. We've got some talk between all of us.
First thing I saw of that rumor was an article denying it, and I was so very confused.
It blew up on my my news feed. Anyway, we've got some geek talk, and then we'll be up to our episode summary. Who I believe it's me today, which is going to be interesting because I had trouble staying awake during the episode and had to rewatch half of it. Then, of course, our review, our final thoughts, and our ratings. So let's get into the birthdays. Starting on March 20th is the birthday of Freema Agyeman, who played Martha Jones in 2007, and then briefly in 2008, and again in 2009. She turned 42. On the same day is the birthday of John Delancey, who played Alan Shapiro in Torchwood Miracle Day, but is best known as his role as Q in Star Trek The Next Generation, DS9, and Voyager. He turned 73. Think of that, people. Q is 73.
Oy.
Thought
March
he was ageless.
March 21st is the birthday of Bruno Langley, who played Adam Mitchell in the first series in 2005. He turned 38. It is also the birthday of Chris Chibnall, the current showrunner and writer from 2010 to 2012. And I completely forgot to put down his age. I'm just rolling big here. I can get it here real quick.
Take a sip for every mistake tonight, folks.
Oh yeah, he's 51.
And he was writing Torchwood episodes before 2010.
I know. I was actually just referring to his Doctor Who credits.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise that little blurb would be a lot larger, and I've been trying to pare it down. Also, the birthday of Timothy Dalton, who played Rassilon in End of Time at the end of 2009, but is best known as one of the James Bonds. Let's face it, if you're a James Bond and you've been in Doctor Who, you get put on this list.
Yeah.
He turned 75. It is also the birthday of Peter Pratt, who played the Master in The Deadly Assassin in 1976. He would have been 98, but died in 1995 at the age of 71. And then finally, on the 22nd, is the birthday of Mary Tam, the first Romana in 1978. She would have died in 2012 at the age of 62.
A lot of cameo adjacent birthdays this week.
Just 2.
Well, I mean, Adam was the companion for about an episode.
2 episodes. Well, technically, was in an episode, became a companion, was in there for an episode, left.
Timothy Dalton was was Rassilon for one story. Pratt was the Master for about 5 minutes. Oh no, I'm thinking somebody else. Am I thinking? Okay, I was thinking.
You're thinking the guy that came after him.
I was thinking the one at the beginning of the '96 movie. That's not who you're talking about.
No.
No,
that's my bad completely.
Bad, Bill. Bad.
Yeah. He's not Jeffrey Beavers. So he gets.
If I remember correctly, John Delancey's Alan Shapiro was like a major villain, like throughout like the second half of Miracle Day.
When I watched Miracle Day, I didn't know who Delancey was, so I can't answer that.
Bad Bill. Anyway, happy birthday to Freema, John, Bruno, Chris, Timothy, Peter, and Mary. Moving on to news. Torchwood has been spotted filming in multiple locations this week. First place that they appeared is Atlantic College, which is in Llanelwedd Major, Wales.
You didn't mean to say Torchwood, right?
No, I meant Doctor Who. I'm sorry.
I was like, wait, what?
Matt, take another drink.
Matt wants a drinky drink.
Okay, so this was basically filming was spotted like the same day that we podcasted last week, but of course didn't get reported until after. There's only a couple of photos from this. Apparently includes a classic Jaguar from the late 60s, early 70s. A Daimler DS 420. I'm not big on luxury cars.
Are we looking at the first article right now?
Yes. Well, we're looking at the not the ones that have the 2 links, the one above it.
Right.
There was also some filming at Cardiff City Hall, the week before that didn't get reported until the 19th. So, and in
So
fact,
the Jaguar thing you were mentioning was that silver car, or
yes,
no? So it
Yeah.
looks like it's a period then, right?
it looks like they might be trying to do a period piece. Either that or it's somebody with a really nice taste in cars. I mean, after all, the Doctor did drive around an Edwardian Roadster in basically what was supposed to be the near future.
Hmm.
And then there was some filming, like I said, in Cardiff City Hall and at St. Mary's Street and the Hayes. They saw the Doctor Who filming vans. So it looks like there was a lot of Cardiff filming at the end of last week. However, this week, the news is a little different. Apparently, the Doctor Who site crew is currently filming in Liverpool. They were first spotted at the Royal Albert Dock. And Jodie Whittaker was spotted on the scene. It looks like they were doing some night filming. Also, there is John Bishop, the new companion.
Mm-hmm.
According to speculation, this may be the episode where they first meet him.
Hmm.
It looks like he's in a lot more photos than the others, so he might have been doing more filming, or they might have just.
Well, yeah,
that might have just been the luck of the photographer.
There might also be some individual companion stuff before you meet the Doctor, kind of.
Right.
Yeah.
And because he's actually from that area, they might have been letting him have more publicity.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
And then they were also filming at the Museum of Liverpool. And this one was with Nadia Albina, who's a disabled actress. So we'll have to see how that goes. Again, a lot of John Bishop's scene and not a lot of Jodie Whittaker.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Again, this could also be some more setup for him,
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
since
Yeah.
both these are taking place in Liverpool.
And that's all we know thus far. That seems to be what's going on. Just because this is a later filming block does not mean this won't turn out to be an earlier episode.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Many things get shot out, or especially if they don't need a lot of time in production.
Although, if it's an earlier episode, we know the season's not coming in April, because that's how starved for actual knowledge of when the season's starting we are, that we have to kind of go off of, are they still filming? If they're still filming that episode, they need at least a month of post.
Usually about 2 months, but yeah.
Again, how much post it needs also depends upon how much visual intensity they need to go through to fix it up and make it ready. If it's really like zero effects, then it might not take that long. Depends.
Okay, fine. So it will not be April 1st. Will not be the start of the season. Okay. That's all we can go out on a limb and say.
We have no idea when we're getting this, and we're only getting what, like 8 episodes this time?
Something like that.
Yeah.
So anyway, moving on, we've got Big Finish news. 2 new releases, both Torchwood this week.
Oddly enough.
One is Madam I'm by James Goss with Samuel Barnett, Brian Dick, and Dervla Kirwan. It would be the Torchwood 1950s team. And then also out is Torchwood Lease of Life with by Aaron Lamont with Bern Gorman. So
Owen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Owen very much on the cover.
And then free this week is episode 1 of Jenny the Doctor's Daughter, series 1.
I might snag that, even though it's probably just a partial story, just because I want to see if there's anything worth listening to there. I still don't know what that series is actually about, other than just being about Georgia Tennant having a role.
Right.
I apparently already own this one, so
Oh,
I didn't remember buying this one, but it's telling me I purchased this one last year.
Shrug.
maybe they had a free sneak of that, or did you get the whole series one?
That's what I'm trying to find out. Because I'm currently looking at my list and going, where is it?
Where are you? Where are you?
I might have gotten like a pre-sneak when it, or a free sneak preview when it was released.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not actually seeing it on my list, but oh, there it is. Jenny, the doctor's daughter, stolen goods. Yeah, I got it. So apparently that's a repeat.
Ah,
Anyway, that is all the news we have. Moving on to breaking the rumor mill, and you'll find out what Bill and I were talking with. So like I said, my news feed blew up today with 2 YouTube videos and 3 news articles, one of which was the same denial I suspect Bill got about Catherine Tate appearing in this series of Doctor Who.
Is this one of those ones that started on YouTube?
This one has some merit, but it's still only speculation. What this is coming down to is this week, while Doctor Who was filming in Liverpool, Catherine Tate was also spotted in Liverpool. And when asked what she was doing there, she said, "I'm filming something, but I can't tell you about it due to an NDA."
Interesting.
Now, Doctor Who is probably not the only thing filming in Liverpool.
Quite possibly.
So she could be there. It could also be that she is in Doctor Who, but we don't know. And even if she is, it doesn't necessarily mean that she's coming back as Donna Noble.
Also very true. It was my first thought too.
Now, it could be that Chibnall is banking on, the ratings grab that John Barrowman got last series and brought back Donna Noble, but that's going to be a lot of work for them to try to figure that one out.
That's a lot of writing
Considering
around.
The character was left memory wiped, with the fact that if she ever regained her memory, it would burn her brain out.
Yeah, the only way that doesn't break lore to bring Donna Noble back, unless it's literally just like a cameo and they're like walking through town, the only way to bring her back in a meaningful way would be to also bring David Tennant back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've gotten that rumor a few times in the past 2 years already.
And it's never produced anything.
Yeah, it's never been amounted to anything.
Like at this point, if I were David Tennant, I would just like stop by the studio every couple of weeks just to say hi and then check the headlines afterward.
So while I can't 100% deny this rumor, don't get your hopes up.
Yeah.
And definitely don't take it as fact.
Yeah. Especially since even if she was, we won't know until an episode airs and she's in it.
And
because of how close to the chest Chibnall likes to play.
And the thing is,
well,
most of the past year, England has been on lockdown, which means everything that involves filming is filming right now.
Yes. Also, in rebuttal to what you just said, Thomas, Chibnall might want to keep things close to the chest. The BBC press, however, has this long habit of blowing anything they want to keep close to the chest. And that has been going on since Moffat.
The fucking John Sim fiasco.
Yep.
Like, we're going to keep it secret. We're going to keep it secret. Put him in the trailer.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's why Chibnall tries to keep it a lot closer. Because he's like, well, that fucking ruined it. So now I'm going to like fucking go around and sew everyone's mouth shut if I have to keep this friggin' secret.
To be honest, the BBC press has been doing this since 2005. With Russell T Davies going, yeah, we want to keep the regeneration a surprise, so we're not going to tell anybody about it ahead of time. BBC Media, Chris Eccleston is stepping down. Yeah. It's literally been happening since Series 1, and I don't see it stopping anytime soon.
There's no stopping the rumor mill. Rumors will still happen.
No. The BBC entertainment news is like freaking tabloids.
Mm-hmm.
Although he managed to get them to keep most of the stuff about Barrowman, well, under wraps enough. Like, we knew he was going to be in the special, but we really didn't know before that which episodes he was going to be in or for how much. We as of Christmas, we still didn't know whether Barrowman and Whittaker would be on screen at the same time or not.
Actually, we did, because Barrowman did say that in an interview.
Oh, okay.
But we didn't know it was going to be how much of it. We didn't know if it was just going to be a scene.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then it turned out that he was a major portion of the episode.
Which would be why that wasn't something that they tried to hide, because it's like, well, he's in the majority of it anyway, so.
So yeah, it would be kind of hard to selectively show trailer information without having him in it.
Yeah. Whereas like Fugitive of the Jadoon, he's only in it for like a minute or two, so.
So yes, it's still classified as a rumor. Don't get your hopes up. But I can't 100% debunk it either, so.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to Geek Talk.
First up on the docket.
So that starts with me.
Yep, Falcon and Winter Soldier.
So this is a first look at Falcon and Winter Soldier. And did anybody else watch it or no?
I haven't even watched WandaVision yet.
Right. That was mainly directed at Thomas, but I didn't want to.
Yeah. Like, I have, but it's such a setup episode that, like, basically, like with WandaVision, I'm waiting until it's done.
Got you. And this is very much a first look because I'm not going to be talking about it every week. I'm going to talk at the beginning and at the end.
Yeah.
So the first episode is basically kind of setting up the character drama. You get a little bit of you get enough of a peek to see like what the capabilities of both Falcon and Winter Soldier are. But mostly it sets up basically Bucky is dealing with things related to his time as Winter Soldier, a little bit of PTSD, a little bit of actual crimes he committed and coming to terms with them. Falcon is kind of dealing with like he was an Avenger and then he was snapped and then he came back and now he's kind of dealing with the new world. A lot of it is very much this is the world post Thanos, like post snap, and kind of the world is starting to settle into its new thing. But it's a lot of that. It's world building and things like that. Obviously, as the season goes on, it's going to be a bit less world building and more actual, whatever's happening. But this, the first episode was very much world building and setting up the characters. We know that they know each other, and obviously in the movies they know each other anyway. But I don't think they're actually like it's not a team up show yet. The extent to which it will be, I don't know if there's been trailers. If there's been trailers, I haven't watched them. For all I know, they could never actually like work together the entire season, but they probably will, given the title. There's and of course there's some sci-fi stuff in the sense of seeing Falcon in action. So that's kind of like WandaVision in the sense that once you get to the action, it's pretty indistinguishable from the MCU movies. So it seems like it's on a pretty good track. It seems like it's really dealing with those sort of character issues that I mentioned, and that the action is going to be a vehicle through which to work out those issues and have each of them kind of fulfill an arc related to that. There's been a lot of positivity, but right now I think it's really early to make any kind of guesses as to how good the plot's going to be, other than the fact that it's MCU and they usually hit more often than they miss.
Okay.
So yeah,
I
if
feel
you like the Captain America movies, you're probably going to like Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Question.
Okay.
Have we heard from Disney on whether this is going to be an ongoing series, or is this just a limited?
It's like 6 episodes or something like that. It's
Yeah,
supposed to be fewer episodes than WandaVision, but longer episodes. So it's
Yeah.
almost like mini movies.
Yeah, but
it's
after
like
that 6 episodes, are they done, or are they going to make more like next year or the year after?
I don't think they've said. I think all
Shrug
of
of
the
the shoulders.
things that
Yeah,
have
they
been
haven't.
announced so far are basically we've only announced
Mhm.
the initial season.
Yeah,
It's
that's
also
been Marvel so far.
it's also all of the all of the new Disney Plus MCU shows have really been transitioning. Here's movie characters after Endgame. We're setting up for whatever the next movie in 2021 or 2022 is going to be. So I really don't see it. Doesn't, at least the impression I'm getting personally, is that none of these are going to have season 2s because they're very moment in time as part of this
Yeah.
much longer season. It's not like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or Daredevil where they're kind of existing on their own. I fully expect that when this is over, they're going to be set up for some movie that they both appear in, whether it's Captain America 4 starring not without any Chris's in it, or whether it's Avengers 5, something
Yeah.
is probably what's going to come next.
Yeah, I mean, also I would say something I've thought about is that if there are technically like sequels to these shows, that they'll have different names. Like if there's a WandaVision season 2, it won't be called WandaVision season 2. It'll be something else, but essentially be like, this is a follow-up to that, but a different name
Right.
because it WandaVision no longer fits as a name.
Okay.
And I think partially because of the way Endgame ended, partially because of the comics, I don't think Sam is going to be called the Falcon by the time this show ends. I think he's just going to be called Captain America. And that would definitely be a factor in terms of whatever comes next if there is another show.
Okay. I was just asking because Disney Plus, of course, has been milking The Mandalorian for.
Right.
Yeah,
And I actually have heard that there's going to be more Mandalorian coming, which from the last episode of season 2, I really thought that there was not going to be anything under the Mandalorian title anymore, but apparently that's not accurate.
No, they announced pretty quickly after that season finale that there's going to be a season 3.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I think they're basically hedging all their bets on like, okay, we're gonna branch stuff out from this.
Yeah, that's the thing. They
Star
announced
Wars moving
announced like 20 spin-offs during Mandalorian season 2. So
yeah.
I figured it was just going to be the spin-offs, and we were seeing all the heads of the Hydra coming.
No,
Yeah.
no. The Mandalorian's apparently their linchpin.
Yeah. I guess just to quickly add something, I mean, I just generally like that outside of the sort of James Bondy opening with Falcon, that this was mostly, hey, yeah, we haven't really done much with Sam, so let's get to actually know him more as a human being. And it was nice to see his life, his family. Although I do say when there's stuff where he's meeting up with his sister and his nephews call him Uncle Sam. Just the fact that it's like Captain America Association and they call him Uncle Sam just made me fucking lose it. I was just laughing my ass off. Because Because it's just like, because immediately I'm just thinking, well, of course that's what I'm going to think of when I hear the words Uncle Sam right next to each other. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where it goes, especially because Zemo is apparently in this show, but don't know how yet.
He is in the like advertisement for it. He's actually finally wearing the purple hood now too.
Yep. Just it's funny that he's got it because it's like they can't really go full Zemo because they've made it pretty clear that he hates Hydra, so they can't go with full on Hydra Zemo, or at least it would be a bit weird at this point to
There's also been
backtrack and
multiple
be like,
Zemos too, so
well, yeah.
I'm pretty sure one of them was actually possibly killed by Captain America at one point. I wouldn't be surprised, at least.
Okay, so the next thing I wanted to talk about was Hanyo no Yashahime season 1, and the Japanese version has finished its season. The English dub has not. And I was planning to rewatch the whole season after the finale aired, but Hulu, I don't know if it's some sort of problem where they put the subtitles in wrong for certain episodes, or if Hulu's system kind of fucked up during my rewatch. But all of a sudden, like 4 episodes in a row, the subtitles were desynced by about 3 minutes, which is very difficult to watch. And the Japanese voice actors have so much more distinctiveness and so much more energy. After watching the sub for the past 2 months, I could not go back to the dub. So I watched one episode of the dub and I was like, this isn't working. I'd rather not understand it than listen to these relatively vanilla voice actors.
That is kind of the problem I have with some stuff. There are certain anime I love to watch dubbed. Hellsing, I freaking love to watch dubbed.
Yeah.
But other stuff, I can't watch it subbed because the subbers that subbed it were high.
Oh yeah, the translation on this one I think is the same sub versus dub, so that's a positive.
Yeah. No, it was. I learned enough Japanese that I know what certain things say, and so when I start seeing, when you can't get the phrase, I can't watch Hellsing subbed because the subbers were insane at the time. When you can't get the quote that's in the opening credits for the anime right in the subtitles, you fail because it's already been translated for you.
And it's sometimes it makes sense to localize it. Sometimes they go way too far. Since you mentioned like knowing just enough Japanese, when I first talked about this show, I was a little confused at the translation and I was complaining, but I wasn't. I was a little wrong about what I was complaining about. Basically, the English just calls it Yashahime, and that does not translate to half demon princesses, and that's where I was confused, which is why I said the full name Hanyo no Yashahime, which does not appear on any English materials, which is half yokai demon princesses essentially. So they left the Hanyo part out of the English stuff, which is where I spent some time grasping around trying to figure out what wasn't matching up with the sub versus the dub. So this is the sequel show to Inuyasha, and as when I last mentioned it, I talked about the fact that there were a lot of story threads that kind of you won't know how good they are until the season ends. Well, apparently it was not written for. I guess they wrote it under the expectation that it would be renewed for season 2, which it has been. Which is also to say that I still can't answer those questions of how good the story is. What I can say is that I have, I would say I like the main characters. Toa and Setsuna especially have very distinct characters. The show is basically it's like if Kagome, Sesshomaru, and Inuyasha were all three siblings, all girls, going on an adventure. In terms of the personalities, and if that doesn't say it enough, really, I would say in general, both in terms of recommendation and in terms of how it feels, is if you would enjoy going on like fanfiction.net and reading a relatively decent Inuyasha like OC sequel fanfic, then you would enjoy this. I would say it's probably not at the same quality as Rumiko Takahashi's work, which is probably not a surprise. There's definitely some areas where they feel like they're grasping at straws. But overall, I would say it's enjoyable. It's kind of fun as someone who enjoyed Inuyasha. Again, I don't know how good the final story is, but there are some powerful character moments which are good enough to keep me wanting to see season 2. If what I said does not sound like something you'd be interested in, then I'd probably wait until season 2 airs and see how the reviews are. But if you would read an Inuyasha fan fiction featuring OCs, then you would enjoy watching this.
Okay. That's everything you've got to say?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
All right. Archer.
Yep. So I recently, over the last week, decided to catch up on my watching of Archer since we got Hulu back. I had not watched Archer since the end of season 8. So it was 3 seasons I had to catch up on. For those of you that don't know, season 7 ended with Archer possibly dying, and then turned out that he was in a coma. So basically, series 7, which was called Dreamland, was a dream Archer was having where he was in 1930s Hollywood in kind of a film noir detective kind of thing. Only all messed up, of course, because it's Archer. I did watch that one when it came out, but I didn't watch any further since I was kind of, I don't know, found it kind of depressing. But picking it up, the second season, or I guess the 9th season was called Danger Island. And again, it's another Archer dream where he is in 1930s Pacific Island as like those buddy adventure films from that era, or even Raiders of the Lost Ark in a way, where it has Archer as a local bush pilot who gets caught up with a plot to find a native idol on this tiny island somewhere near Fiji. The cast in this is pretty hysterical. They started to use some, I think, CGI special effects, and they blended in fairly well. One of the most interesting cast changes is the fact that the character of Krieger, who is usually the scientist doctor, is replaced by a parrot named Crackers with the same voice actor. And yes, the parrot can talk fully sentient, which is another sign that this is a dream. But it gets pretty funny. Cyril in this, which is like Archer's least favorite coworker, turns out to be a originally thought to be a German investor, and then discovers that he's essentially a Nazi spy. Yeah, it's very interesting, and the fact that this is the Archer crew means that everything is completely dysfunctional. Archer crashes his plane within the first 2 episodes, and it's This one is pretty good. This is Erin's favorite of these alternate universe seasons. She really liked it. It has a continuous plot, which is good, and it ends on one of those dramatic notes. The season after this was called Archer 1999, which was a reference to Space 1999, the British sci-fi series. And yes, it is literally Archer in space.
Of course.
Oh, you got to say the whole. If you're gonna say something in space, you got to put the whole emphasis on it.
I am trying to do this in time here. Anyway, the cast there is pretty much close to their basic Archer standards. Only, of course, it's all sci-fi, as they're basically a salvaging crew on a spaceship traveling around. And each episode here is episodic, like most sci-fi shows were in the day. I like this one the best. Some of the CGI is cool, and of course, I always like sci-fi. So, seeing Archer deal with aliens and robots, and well, actually, he's dealt with robots before, but actual sci-fi robots was kind of cool. And there was like a ton of shout-out episodes or shout-out references to like different sci-fi stuff. Like Krieger is an android, kind of like the one from Alien.
Mm.
Like at one point he gets cut in half and he drops out white fluid.
Yep.
Yep. So I get most of those references, so I'm like, yes, awesome. So that one was my favorite. Season 11, I gotta remember these are seasons, not series. Archer is awake, and once again, a spy. This one starts out a little depressing because Archer has been in a coma for 3 years. And when he wakes up, basically he's discovered everybody's moved on without him. The group seems to be fully functioning and working better than ever with him not being there. He has been, while he has recovered, his leg has suffered nerve damage, so he has to walk with a cane. Oh, and Lana, his ex-girlfriend / mother of his daughter, has gotten married. So, basically everything that he cares about is gone, and it has a pretty low note. But this is the Archer crew. Things start getting back to normal within probably 20 minutes after the first episode begins. Archer either pisses people off enough that they revert to their old selves, or in the case of Pam, it's just like, all right, bring it on. Some of these episodes are pretty hysterical. There's one where they go to a fighting island, kind of a la Mortal Kombat, for a mission. And Pam winds up duking it out with one of the former agency agent right in the ring, while Archer and Lana completely foul up the turning off the security that they're supposed to do. There's a reoccurring villain called Peregrine who becomes an issue, and all in all, I think I liked it once it got over the depressing bit. There is some, every now and then there's some reoccurring stuff, and you later find out how much of an absolute jerk Lana's husband is. But yeah, I like it. I'm hoping there's still more coming, because I'm thinking they just kind of got their groove back, and I would like to see some more spy Archer.
Yeah. They've had their off seasons. Now let's get back into the nitty gritty.
As someone who only ever knew Archer from the memes, your description kind of makes me want to start watching it.
It's basically parody James Bond / action films for the most part.
Yeah. Yeah, basically, if you don't know, Sterling Archer is the main character, voiced by H. John Benjamin. The the guy that plays Bob and Bob's Burgers and a bunch of other stuff. But he's supposed to be the world's greatest spy. And he's really a selfish, barely functioning alcoholic.
So Tony Stark.
Worse.
Hmm.
The
Well,
problem
That's why
is
which version
really,
you know.
like,
the owner of the spy agency he works for is his mother, who is also a barely functioning,
Alcoholic.
abusive alcoholic. Yes.
Oh, nepotism.
Verbally abusive, I should say. And the cast around them, Lana's the most competent, but is the one that Archer gets under her skin the most. Everybody else in the freaking office is insane. Sometimes clinically insane.
I believe I saw the episode where they were all trapped in the elevator. That went sideways fast.
Yeah, that was an early season 1 or season 2 episode. I can tell you this, originally, when this started airing, the organization they worked for was called ISIS, but they had to change that.
Yeah, that had to get changed pretty quick, didn't it?
Yeah, they just now refer to it as the agency.
nah.
But yeah, there's other characters too, like Archer's rival Barry. His name is Barry. And basically Archer ruined his life and got to the point that Barry was psychotic with a split personality that was known as Barry and Other Barry. And Other Barry wanted Archer very, very dead and planned several plans to do that. But yeah, it's a great show if you don't mind wacky dysfunctional humor. And everybody is dysfunctional on this show.
Yeah. And depending on how much you've seen of certain spy stuff, I know references will go over your head, because I think there's an episode I had seen, and then I watched the Bond movie For Your Eyes Only, and then I watched the episode again and was like, oh, okay, this is a parody of a dynamic in that.
Mm-hmm.
So
I will tell you this, Bill. The 5th season, they did take a break from spy work because that one they called Archer Vice. They basically all get laid off as spies and become drug dealers. So yeah, they take their cracks everywhere. And it's just hysterical parody, dysfunctional humor that these guys just, I mean, I don't know how they don't kill each other.
We all have our weeks.
But yeah, if you haven't seen Archer, and you've got Hulu, I'd start watching it from the beginning. It really hits its stride, I think, around season 3, and then loses its stride a little, and then regains it again. So there's a lot of meme quotes that come from Archer.
Phrasing.
Yeah, I use that one all the time.
Yeah, and like, do you want ants? This, because this is how you get
Right.
ants.
Yeah, those are the two things I knew Archer from.
And Danger Zone. Yeah, I do Archer quotes all the time because I was so fond of the series when it came out. It used to be on regular FX, and as the ratings started to slide, they moved it over to FXX, which of course is. I thought at that point it was dead, but it's still going. So.
Shrug. It lives.
And depending on how well it's doing, or whether they just want to keep cranking it out. I mean, technically, the company that makes it is the one that distributes it anyway. I don't know. Probably makes it is owned by Disney now. So
one of the greatest moments of parody in that, by the way, was I think the beginning of season 3, where Archer wound up with amnesia, and they wound up finding him flipping burgers in a burger joint that looked very much like Bob's Burgers. And And they even got the people that voiced Bob's family from Bob's Burgers to do guest voices as the family he was with there. The whole insinuation that Bob's Burgers may just basically just be Archer with amnesia. It was hysterical. Especially as somebody who watches Bob's Burgers, or at least lives with somebody that watches Bob's Burgers.
Yeah, by the time Bob's Burgers came out, I stopped watching TV except for certain pretty much sci-fi stuff. So I've never watched an episode.
Yeah, I didn't either at the time because I'm not a big H. John Benjamin fan. Because he had been in a couple of things on Adult Swim before, like home movies. And
I know what kind of like the artwork looks like. It makes me think of King of the Hill. I don't know if it's similar at all.
It started out more like the artwork you had gotten from like Metalocalypse or C Lab 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And it's gotten smoother since then.
Speaking of which, that reminds me, I need to finally watch all of C Lab 2021 because that would be pretty hilarious considering the year we're in.
Hilarious.
That's probably on there somewhere. Anyway,
yeah, you're done with Archer?
I do recommend watching Archer, yes.
All right. So that goes to Campaign 2 Critical Role.
Yep. Very early this morning, I think it was, I finally got through the 30th episode of Critical Role Campaign 2, and it's definitely very interesting thus far. I feel like it's easier to jump onto than Campaign 1 just because you're not getting dropped into the middle of existing events. Because Campaign 1 was a home game that they'd already been running that they brought into and made a stream and show out of. And just kept going from there. So they ended up having to do like an extended sort of intro of this is how, like they ended up doing backstory stuff of this is how they met, this is how they got to where they were before you saw them. Because we're just kind of dropped into the middle without any real explanation. Whereas Campaign 2, all new characters, I think it's set like possibly centuries later than
I think it's like 50 or
characters.
60 years later or something like that.
Yeah. It's like generally like all of the human characters from the previous campaign would be long dead.
More likely they'll be in their like 70s, but yeah.
Well, yeah.
There's a couple of them that might
well, actually,
pass.
I forget I forget how some of the stories went because there's sort of an epilogue episode for the first campaign where it's
There's
like
been a
this
couple
is where
of
they all ended
epilogue
up later.
one shots that they've done, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, well, yeah, as opposed to this where we're following completely new people directly from the start. We get to see their entire journey, so it's a lot different in that way. It's difficult to say whether I prefer these characters or not. I mean, it's funny because I feel like there are more humans in this group, but I could be wrong.
There's only 2 humans.
So I'm just thinking there were 3 half elves in the last one, and there are no elves at all in this. There's no gnomes either because Sam Riegel decided to be a goblin this time. And let's see. Okay, yeah. I guess there's more humans by virtue of the fact that there are now 2, I guess.
Yeah, there's
and
one additional
no elf related.
One human. Sam Riegel was playing human for a little while towards the end of round 1, but he did come back with the original character.
Yeah. and like I always assumed that was just he was decided he wanted a break from that character. But yeah, um it's just so interesting because watching this again and watching some other D&D related stuff has really got me back in the headspace of wanting to do fantasy writing again. Um and it's just like I kind of envy them really because it's like god, this would be great to be able to do, but I don't know if I would be able to organize it myself. Um like never expecting to make any money out, just playing D&D with people, but I'm just like the amount of time sink
I've been running
that
my
it
first
takes
D&D
and
campaign now for almost 2
um,
years. It's like a couple months shy now.
hmm.
It's a
But I guess
Conan
like
game too.
yeah. Like I guess it like, I kind of envy I also just generally envy Matt Mercer's improv of like the fact that it's like, oh well, we probably weren't actually I didn't expect that they would go down this particular route, so now I've got to pull this out of my ass. Which I think he's admitted that there have been times where that's absolutely happened. In fact, I'm pretty sure he said the whole campaign like started as one of the like Liam O'Brien's like a birthday present. It was supposed to be like a one
Yeah,
shot, I think.
the first campaign
And
was, yeah.
then yeah, and he set up like this whole thing for them to do, and they completely went the other way. So he's like, okay, I guess we're doing this now.
That's
And
one
then
thing
it
I've learned
turned
as
into
GM: never assume. Just be prepared.
yeah. It's like it's one of those things. I think there's been a bunch
Unless
of
you give them
D&D
a
stuff
big
I've
dungeon, in
watched
which
around.
case assume everything can go off.
Yeah. Yeah, it's generally been interesting so far. I don't like, it's a it's a daunting task to try and catch up because even though I'm up to episode like I've watched the first 30 episodes now, pretty sure like like within the next day or two, depending on how time frame works, they'll be airing like the 131st episode of the campaign 2 or something like that. So that's gonna
I
be,
would have to double
I've
check what
still
the
got like
number is.
yeah,
But yeah.
I've still got like over 100 episodes worth of catch up. So it's like, but the pace I'm going, it is likely that I will at least close the gap a lot quicker than I was expecting I would. So
As
it
long
is
as you
going
can
to
get
be
more than
interesting.
one a week, yes, you can close that gap pretty
Yeah. I
soonish.
I yeah, like I had I did have something spoiled for me, which is kind of annoying, but it has happened already now. So I'm kind of like, okay, good. At least the thing that was spoiled for me happened early. So it wasn't like a late game spoiler that it's like, oh shit, okay. Because I was just keep like in my head, I was just kind of reminded, oh yeah, that's gonna happen. And then it happened like several episodes ago, and I'm just like, oh, okay, good. Now the only thing that I've had spoiled for me is gone. So I can basically
Um,
just be flying blind for the rest of it.
can I make a prediction on what the spoiler was without spoiling it?
Yeah.
One of the how to put it? One of the tieflings.
Yep.
Okay. Yep.
Which is annoying because I think it was spoiled for me on like
Well, it was
Twitter.
also quite a surprise for everybody watching, including the players. But yeah.
Yeah. It was like it was funny because when I started watching, I'm like, "Oh, right, that happens." Okay, and it was just like,
Yeah, that
um,
that actually feel as a person who's kept up, that feels like such a long time ago now.
oh yeah. I mean, these are episodes that were airing 3 years ago.
Almost now, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like it's so funny to be so far removed from it, but also was not able to have the same reaction a lot of other people did. But yeah, it's like it's one of those things that annoys me that I would not be able to have the reaction of not seeing it coming. But It's like, oh
Oh, if
well.
you think that's the only twist, you're far from right. There's a lot more coming.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, I feel like watching campaign 1 first, as much as it pushed me even further behind on campaign 2, because I know there are a lot of people that did that. They started on campaign 2 and then went back to campaign 1
Mm.
once they'd caught up. But I was like, no, I would rather get through campaign 1 first because it's done. But yeah. Either way, I'm looking forward to my like a month, depending on if I take a break or not, year of catch up. And it'll be interesting to see where it goes from here. But yeah, they've definitely inspired me to get more into the writing that I've been putting off for so long. So
All
positive
right.
side effects.
Yep. So I guess that's it for Critical Role then.
Yep.
So that means next tab of my browser here is the stopwatch. So Randy, are you ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Starting in 3, 2, 1, go.
All right, so we start this episode with a young man named Eugene Jones waking up in the middle of a road. He seems a little disoriented, doesn't know where he is, and until he walks over, not too far from where he is, to discover that Torchwood and a bunch of people are investigating his dead body. He's a little disconcerted by this, but he goes with Torchwood, who can't see him or really interact with him, and begins to remember his life. He was when he was a young boy, he lost a math contest with another school, and to try to make him feel better, the teacher gave him this thing that looks like an eye. And he seems to think it was an alien artifact, which he holds on to, hoping the alien will come look for it for the rest of his life. Well, his life basically goes to shit. His father left his family, and he's really not done much with his life. Gwen, who feels a little guilty since this person has tried to talk to her on multiple occasions, decides to investigate his death. And thus begins basically what's 40 minutes of what basically a CSI episode without much CSI, as she goes from person to person, finding out the little details on his life. It's discovered that at one point he lost all hope after discovering his father, who he'd been told had a big corporate job in America, was actually working in a service station in Cardiff. Decided to sell the eye on eBay. After not originally getting much bid, suddenly somebody puts in a huge bid for £15,000, and then it finally sells for £15,000, $5 and or £5.50. Or eventually he arranges to meet the buyer at a restaurant, and he discovers it's actually his two friends, who have basically about 38 pounds between them. But one of his friends has the wonderfully cruel idea to force him to give up the eye, and they would sell it to the second highest bidder that would bid £15,000 and turn in for a huge profit. Well, this just starts a fight in the middle of the restaurant, and Eugene winds up swallowing the eye and taking off at a dead run outside the restaurant, where, after crossing a field, he gets hit by a car and dies. However, during the course of this investigation, every now and then Eugene would suggest something, and Gwen would seem to follow it as if on instinct. It's questionable whether they could interact or not. And then finally, at the very end, we're watching Eugene's funeral. Gwen is watching them come out and watching Eugene's father reconcile with his family, maybe. And she's not paying attention for standing in the middle of the street and is about to get hit by a vehicle when Eugene somehow manages to basically tackle her out of the way. And for a brief moment, everybody could see Eugene before he basically passes on, for lack of a better term. Really, that's about it.
Yep. 4 minutes, 7 seconds.
All right. So let's talk about what we liked about the episode. And Matt, you're first.
I am first. Things I liked about this episode. I definitely like the setup of this episode. It's outside of Gwen, it's mostly a Torchwood light episode, and the main focus is on Eugene, as he remembers almost everything, but can't quite seem to fully remember like the last say month or so of his life.
Last few days at the very
At least, for sure, at least the last week or so, yeah. And so he's sitting there trying to puzzle it all together alongside Gwen because he doesn't quite grasp it all again, and he's trying to get it all back.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thomas?
I'm realizing that Matt, in a way, kind of took mine. So, because like I was also going to
he did too, but I have more specific.
Yeah.
To say about it.
So I guess I'll just go with the actor playing Eugene. Just generally like Eugene in general. Like the episode basically hinges on his performance. If he had been like this annoying, shitty character,
Mm-hmm.
then it would have like, well, more acting. But yeah, it's like this could have been like the Torchwood equivalent of Love and Monsters if
That's
the
Yes.
acting wasn't great.
That's exactly.
Yeah,
what I
very
was about to
much.
say.
Yeah,
This is
like-
very much Love and Monsters done right.
yeah.
In the fact that you have the outsider looking in on the group, and the outsider's the focus instead of the group.
Luckily, he doesn't hit on anybody's mom.
He doesn't hit on anybody's mom, and he doesn't have a relationship with somebody that's a concrete slab.
And he's also not a horrendous bad monster.
Of course, nobody in the episode is designed by a literal child either.
That helps too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like the character, and like even coming back to it, I'm like, oh, right, this is a character that hinges on someone we don't know. This could very much, but it's like, no, that the actor's fine. The character isn't as obnoxious as the characters in Love and Monsters, and it's not like, he's trying to get in touch with Torchwood not because like he's some crazed fanboy. He's doing it for a legitimate reason.
Because he wants them to
And
see an
he's a
artifact,
crazy
and they keep
fanboy.
swiping him away. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that the artifact turns out to actually be an artifact,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
rather than everybody's just like, oh, that's just a plastic eye.
Right.
Yeah.
It was a plastic eye. Then why is it made out of stone? That always gives me. That's always a little. I actually forgot that.
All right, Bill?
So I just like the fact that it's an actual murder mystery. I always like because Doctor Who and other sci-fi shows so often like they'll present a question and then the answer will be something completely unrelated to actual detecting. I always like it when the characters actually have to go through the work and do the detective work and figure out what happened. And that's very much what Gwen is doing throughout this episode.
Mm-hmm. She's old school detectiving. She's flat-footing down the clues.
Nobody has to like sniff the air or lick the dirt to figure out what happened.
Nobody has to take stuff back to the lab.
Just piecing the bits together.
Mm-hmm. And I'm just gonna lump mine with Thomas because that's really what I liked. It's the fact that this was Love and Monsters done right.
Hmm.
All right. So what did we dislike about it, Matt?
Honestly, it's very nitpicky, but yeah, I have to go back to the constantly calling it a plastic eye. For the love of God, can't people just tell that this isn't just freaking plastic? I'm not
I don't know.
sure
They
what
do
to really
want this
call
to
it.
be
It's like a
plastic.
mixture of a white stone with some sort of gem that's got blue in it at certain angles. I would almost want to call it a geode or something, but that's not quite right either. I don't know what to really call it, but it's obviously like at least some sort of stone. It's not just basic plastic thing.
I think it's just because the prop looks like one of those little rubber bouncy balls. As far as what they might have actually
It
made it out of.
reminded me, but not really, of I used to have a. It was an eye in a plastic ball that the eye would always like look upwards no matter how
Yeah,
you rotate the
yeah.
ball.
Oh yeah, kinda. But that would also be filled with water, and you would see it rotating in the plastic. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that isn't that like a straw from Taco Bell or something.
I have no idea.
I think that's where or at least ours came from. Anyway.
Anyway, Thomas, what did you dislike or like
um,
the least about the episode?
yeah. Generally, like the sentiment at certain points where Eugene is getting a bit, "Oh, I love you, Gwen." It's like, "Oh, what are we doing? This didn't need to be." Like, especially like, it's just why does this need to be here?
Yeah, especially they even indicate at one point that like he was not pursuing any romantic relationships because he was too busy pining over Gwen.
Which is why I was still
Hmm.
saying, while being a fanboy obsessive. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I hate people that are like, I love you. It's like, you don't even know me, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right,
Well,
Bill.
So mine is I'm not a fan of episodes that or stories that rely on this idea that this person has been constantly at every turn bothering the main cast and following them around, but this is the first episode the characters appeared in. And having watched Torchwood at least for the first season several times now, I can honestly say the first time I thought maybe, did I miss him all this time? But no, I'm pretty sure he's just never been there. And gaslighting is way too strong of a word, but it kind of feels like in that area where they're trying to like, oh, don't you remember all those times when you saw him stalking Gwen? I'm like, no, I don't.
I
And it
basically
bothers me.
I mean, like, it doesn't bother me as much, but only because Torchwood isn't really supposed to be like serialized always. There are episodes that lead into each other, but there
there's a
are
couple
ones where
episodes, but there
there's
are
a bit of
definitely
a
big
gap.
gaps, and it's very
Ma-
easy that he could have only showed up during
Mhm.
some of the gaps.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
it's maybe because it's partially because I'm that person who like when I see like the way this episode started, I was like, "Oh, have I been a bad viewer all this time and I never noticed him like constantly
Mm,
showing up?" Because sometimes I miss characters like that. And like I
yeah.
take it like but
Yeah.
he was never there.
Yeah. I will say now that you bring it up, it is kind of a missed opportunity to have not had him just kind of at the start of an earlier episode show up and try to bother them, and then but like
Yeah,
maybe it only happens the once, but it gets
especially
the point across.
especially like they have a script editor and such. He definitely could have just showed up like in the beginning of one episode or the end of another
Mm,
episode, just here and there.
And
yeah.
that's a freaking Russell T Davies series. This
That's
is the
true.
guy that
Yeah,
put freaking Bad Wolf in like every episode of series one of
this
Doctor
this
Who.
is this is the guy who came up with "There's something on your back."
Mm-hmm.
Well, to also be fair, this is the point where he was burning out too.
No, this was the
Not
this
yet.
was the pre-burnout. Season 2 was about the point. Season 2 of Torchwood was where he was
Thi-
starting to
I
burn.
remember
This
he had
was
some
him,
sort of issue with it either way.
this was him just starting to take on that level of a workload before it got to the point
Yeah.
of him like, maybe that's too much.
Yeah, at this
Yeah.
point he's only doing 2 shows. He's doing Doctor Who
Mhm.
and Torchwood. Sarah Jane would come
I
during.
th-
I think
I thought they both started around the same time.
No, there was maybe the pilot episode came after this at some point, but they did not start right away of the same year.
they had were pre-producing Torchwood during season 2 of Doctor Who. It was after season 2 aired that the highly response to School Reunion got greenlit for the Sarah Jane Adventures, which came out during season either right before or right after season.
So this was when was Torchwood season 1 airing?
Torchwood's first aired in 2006. Sarah Jane Adventures aired in 2007.
January of 2007. So I think it would have been between the same seasons of Doctor Who, if not a year later. But then there was a 9-month gap between the first episode and the second.
Anyway, we're splitting hairs here.
Yeah, we've totally side tangented and forgot what we were even talking about. Back.
We were talking about serialization.
Oh yeah, you were complaining that you hadn't seen the character before, right?
Yep. Okay. So, my least favorite thing about this is the whole concept that a failed inter-school contest is going to ruin your whole life.
Admittedly, it's a bit more than that, but yeah.
Well, this is the equivalent of I failed the spelling bee. Oh, now my father's going to leave and I will never amount to anything ever. That's what it feels like to me, because he basically, to this day, people are making fun of him for failing this. And it's got to be, 10, 15 years later?
So even though he had that realization at the end, he was like, "Oh, my father didn't leave and everything just because of me fucking up at the spelling bee." Like that didn't resolve it for you?
No, because it's still the fact that he let it's still, he would bump into people that were still making fun of him for it. And I don't remember that kind of bullshit.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Somebody failed to catch the winning pass at a football game in high school. They're not getting ridiculed today. It's just,
I could definitely see, like, especially in a drama show like this, where they're like, "Oh, I blame you for not getting that scholarship to some famous sports school, and I became a supervillain entirely on my hatred for you missing that catch," or something.
I don't know. It just feels too extreme to me for Torchwood.
Yeah, it's one of those things of like, wow, how pathetic is your life that you're hung up on this one thing that happened when you were all kids.
Well, it's
Like,
partially that, and it's also partially the fact that
specifically
he's constantly expecting something to happen with the eye.
Yeah, his obsession with the eye from that night is pretty much what ruined his life.
Yeah.
I just think it's odd he'd still get ridiculed on it.
Well, I think also it's only his friends that ridicule him about it, to be fair, too.
No, there was somebody in one of the shops that when Gwen was interviewing him, brought it up.
But wait, was that the guy who later turned out to be the friend that was backstabbing him?
Was it?
Yeah.
If you're talking,
that's what I
video
thought
shop
too.
guy?
The video shop guy. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a friend.
some friend.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm.
Anyway, favorite scene, Matt.
Oh. Trying to decide which one to go with. Oh, actually, that should be obvious. Starman.
Oh yeah,
David Bowie in this episode. Okay, we
Right.
officially got an extra half a point.
Now I remember what my opening joke.
Was that like the half a point or the point you had to give to
Love
Love
and
and
Monsters for having yellow. Yes.
yellow?
Yes. It's exactly the same.
Yeah.
Well, I can't completely fail it. At least I had good music.
Because now I remember what my original opening joke was going to be, and it was going to be, so that's where all the budget went
Mm.
to get them that
The
one David
montage.
Bowie song.
And the
The
Bowie
rights
song,
to
yeah.
the song.
Yeah. Unless
Yeah,
David Bowie's cheaper to get than something
I
like
don't
the
know.
And,
This
Beatles.
and they even have the rights for streaming.
Yeah.
Now, this was back when Bowie was alive too, so I don't know. Bowie might have been a fan.
It's hard to
Mhm.
say. I do know that
True.
people did try to cease and desist a guy who was actually out in space doing a cover of one of his songs, and he told them, "No, you need to stop that." So Bowie, I don't
Yeah.
think was that demanding on people, as long as they were.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if Bowie was a Doctor Who fan, it's like, yeah, I would like to use one of your songs in a Doctor Who spinoff. He might have just been like,
He
no.
might just said, "Sure, let's just give them like 10, $20 for the rights." It's very possible.
All right, Thomas, your favorite scene.
I guess just because it hit me in the gut a bit watching it, just like the funeral with the dad getting up and doing "Oh Danny Boy," like that got me.
And
Like
the
I
mother
didn't.
who tried to speak and couldn't.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, like now at this point in my life, the first time I watched this, God, I can't even remember what my reaction was the first time, but it might have hit me harder the first time because that would have been closer to, or just I guess like now that I've been to two different family member funerals of like grandparents, so it's not the exact same scenario, but it's just like
It's
you
not.
know,
And
but
I can speak a little on this because I have had younger relatives that have died.
mm,
Grandparents, you're kind of expecting.
mm,
I mean, not
It's still
entirely.
sad, but it's not like as
yeah,
absolutely heartbreaking
mm,
But
and unexpected.
when you lose a brother or a cousin who's around your age, you're just like, oh
mm,
my God.
Yeah, that's where the oh
yeah.
shit sinks in.
Mhm.
And I
And
guess
when you
even
lose your child, it's even worse.
Mm-hmm.
mm, I guess even by that, it probably hit me harder just because of like losing Tim
Mm.
last year. Might have
Yeah.
been something that was like that's a death closer to the age of this character as well. That it's like,
Somewhere fairly close, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that was another thing where it was just like, holy hell.
Mm. Because now
Okay.
thinking about that's that's like, oh what shit.
Yeah, that's why I'm moving on, just to try to keep us from not getting melancholy. Bill, your
Uh-huh.
favorite scene.
So I really liked the opening. I felt that it was a really great way to hook your attention, especially if you haven't watched the episode in a while. So I couldn't even quite recall the whole part about him being dead at the beginning. So even just like rewatching it, I was like, yeah, that's a really great hook. It really gets my attention and I want to figure out what's going on.
Okay.
Mm.
I think my favorite scene is where he saves Gwen at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Where it's just like, okay, I died because I wasn't watching traffic. I'm not going to let the same thing happen to her.
Mm.
Yeah.
He's questioning why he's still here, and immediately that moment happens, and he's very, very brief moment due to the stone possibly has this chance to fix something.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Okay, least favorite scene. Matt.
Least favorite scene. I'm trying to think of one that's actually particularly bad. I guess the one time where it's been so long that I forgot most of this plot, but I think the scene where they're at the black hole exhibit or something like that, when when they meet up with his buddy again, immediately my brain went, oh no, his friends set him up for something, and that's what caused him to come to his demise. I betcha. I don't even remember how this ends, but I betcha that's part of it. Wow, that sucks. And the way the guy
Yeah,
was
that
acting,
was
he was acting very suspicious too, which didn't help my theory any.
yeah, I was like, wow, what a douchey thing to do.
Yeah.
And after we find out what actually happens, yeah, what a bunch of jerks.
Mm-hmm.
At least one of them felt bad about it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
At least that one felt bad about it eventually, admitted it publicly, but the other guy, yikes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
All right, Thomas.
Kind of torn between two different things. I'll just go with the one that sticks out more. Just like him, like the ghost of Eugene waking up next to like a half naked Gwen is just like, dude, what are you doing? This is just creepy. It's like, why are you feeling this isn't ghost, dude? Can you can you like what are you doing?
I actually that leads me to another series of questions, but I'll see if anyone else picks up the other part of those questions that I have. I'll bring it up later. But yeah,
'Cause it's just like,
that was an awkward moment.
yeah. Because it implies that he was there all night. So, like, did he watch her shower? Did he watch her
Oh
undress?
god.
Like, how far does this go?
How far
that
did this
he's
rabbit hole
like,
go? Yeah.
because like I wouldn't have
Yeah.
thought of that the first time through, and now I'm like, oh wait a minute. This
Yeah,
opens a lot
now you're hitting Bill's holographic clothes level
of-
of getting squicked out. Speaking of Bill, your least favorite scene.
So I'm really not a fan of that whole scene at the end where he's either, I guess it's supposed to simultaneously be, or I guess it's supposed to be up to your interpretation whether he's being taken away by a mothership or like rising on a cloud to heaven with another one of RTD's Jesus metaphors.
I think it's the Jesus metaphor. He's
But
literally
it's
just
the
suddenly risen and
it's
glowing
the
and disappears.
combination of that metaphor as being the only time that has been a part of Doctor Who lore, combined with like Gwen like pleading for him not to like finish dying, whatever the fuck it is, and it's I don't know, it's I don't know if sloppy's the right word. I mean, depending on how you interpret it, it could be sloppy, but I don't know. I just don't like that scene.
It's very like I have to go now. My planet needs me. Like, of wait, what's happening? Like, it's like, is the fact that he swallowed the eye thing just mean that okay, after you be a ghost for a while, you sort of come back briefly, but then have to get? It's like it raises too many questions.
It really
It
does.
raises a lot of questions that they never really answer in the episode, to be fair.
I didn't like the last part where you see it like take off from Earth and stuff.
Yeah.
But the fact where he kind of glows and kind of goes away, it doesn't bother me that much.
Yeah, that part doesn't bother me.
Mm.
The pullback is
because
a little silly.
that's peaceful dispersion. That actually.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it wouldn't have bothered me so much if not for Gwen pleading with him to
Not die.
not to go.
Yeah, like some of that
Don't
is
think he has a choice, Gwen.
like I feel like if it had been kept to just the one instance, it would have been fine. But it almost feels like maybe it was only supposed to be once, but they kept rolling, so she just kept going. uh,
Okay. So my least favorite scene is any scene with Eugene's brother.
Mhm.
Oh God, is he a brat?
Yeah, he really
Hmm.
doesn't care. But again, that might be partially because they found out about what happened to their father too.
Even before that, when he thinks that he's doing business in a corporate in America, it's just like, yeah, you understand what happened to your brother? Yeah, he walked out in traffic and got his fool ass killed.
No, he knew already about his dad. Just that the
Mhm.
boys hadn't told their mother that they found out.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Like,
So,
yeah, I
so,
think
so,
like
so,
the
so this
only
kid probably is already going through like double trauma, and he's just basically putting on
yeah.
the visage of don't care anymore.
Mm,
It still bothered me
It's still a bratty,
yeah.
but yeah.
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's the wrong way to affect somebody when you lose somebody like that.
Well,
Yeah, like
well, either you put up a wall or you break down like the mom is.
mm,
It's
like
still the
it
wrong wall.
yeah, it came the scene where it worked, his attitude worked for me was the one where he's talking about how they found out what the dad had actually gotten up to, because that was very like, you know, him sort of defending or like having a go at the dad for thinking Eugene was shit or something, or like saying that like, Eugene thought that he'd run off because the dad thought Eugene was shitty or something. So it seemed like his anger was directed towards the
Yeah,
dad.
yeah. His anger is definitely more directed at the dad than it was at Eugene or anything else.
Mm.
But yeah, it's still when you first meet him, it's very much wow,
Yeah, yeah,
this kid.
yeah.
All right, so let's go to final thoughts. Matt.
Final thoughts. There's maybe a few tweaks to have of this episode, but I have to say I can't really think of anything I would completely change out of this other than maybe dropping one little scene that was unnecessary.
Mm.
Or at least changing the dialogue in that scene because I don't think he's actually talking during that scene, is he? No, maybe he was talking. I think he just thinks out loud during most of the episode, if I recall.
Yeah. He's either like trying to talk at people who can't hear him, or it's like in
Yeah,
some
Or a
cases it's
flashback, yeah.
narration.
yeah. If this was a book, it would be a first-person narrative.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah. Outside of literally a little bit of dialogue in one scene, I would actually not touch much of this episode. I think it's pretty darn solid as it is.
All right, Thomas.
Yeah, this is one of those ones where I was like, "Oh, thank God, this is one of the good ones." Like, as much as there are issues I have with it, like as I said before, this is an episode that could have been so much worse. Like, this could have been Love and Monsters level bad if it weren't for the actor that we're following for the brunt of this, or the bulk of this, playing this as well as he does, and the character being written um as well as he is. It's not like OMG best episode ever by any means, but some of the emotional beats do absolutely work on me. And it's one of those things where it's like, this is what Torchwood can be when they're not trying to be edgelord crap.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And it's like, it would have been great to have more things like this where even though there's issues with it, it's not what the fuck is this tone.
All right, Bill.
The interesting thing about this episode is that it has the gravity that it brings to it makes it feel like it's closer to the season finale than it is. I actually had to just look it up because I was going to say if I could change one thing, I would make it not so close to the season finale. But actually, looking it up, it's episode 9 out of 13. That's not really that close to the finale either way. So it's just there's a lot of gravity to it. Um, yeah, it is one of the better episodes of on Torchwood standard. Um, Definitely, the guy's friends are shitty. He wasted his life with his obsession, and certain things could be more interesting or more likable, but his it's not intended to be likable. The characters are supposed to, you're not supposed to go away. Oh yeah, these guys that led to their so-called friend's death. You're not supposed to come away liking them after that. That's not really a negative aspect on the episode. It's just it's very much an oddity as Torchwood episodes go. It very much stands out as the one thing that's not really like the other things, and that's not a bad thing. And it's, I would say, mostly a good thing. And it's going to be kind of hard to come up with a final rating as a result of it just being so different. And I guess that's about all I have to say.
All right. So I mostly like this one. I thought it was a little slow in the beginning, but about 20 minutes in, it picks up nicely and manages to hold my attention. Mostly, I think it was the flashbacking that was boring me, but other than that, I like most of it. I like the ending. I'm good with the acting. Special effects are decent for what's there. I mean, it is kind of a shitty story, but life is full of shitty stories.
And it could be much worse.
It's a well-written shitty story. I mean, it's somebody's crap life. So
Well, yeah, but I'm also saying that this guy's shitty story of a life could have been a lot worse too.
Anyway, let's rate it. Matt, you are first.
This would have been a 4.5 for me, but again, I have to mention those bonus points for not only David Bowie, but one of my favorite David Bowie songs. So I actually have to give this one a 5. It is very close, though.
I said 5. Thank you. All right, Thomas.
For me, there's just enough holding it back that I'm going to have to go with a 4.5. But I did have to actually think about it a bit.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Bill.
I don't think it has that extra kick to go up to a 4.5, but I will say I'll give it a 4.0.
And I'm actually going to go with a 4.5 because I couldn't find enough wrong with it to really give it a full point detraction. And I really like a lot of it. So.
Yeah, literally, most of the negativity is nitpicks or maybe a segment of a scene that could have been dropped.
One character you didn't like, and that's a personal opinion. Yeah. That kind of thing. So, in that review, Thomas and myself are right. Bill's wrong. Matt's wrong. The average is a 4.5. And that would put us at 65 out of 382 things reviewed. Not bad.
Not bad, especially since Torchwood can be really hit or miss.
Yeah. And by looks of it, it's the only Torchwood thing in this range.
It is standing by itself at 4.5. It is better than Torchwood Ghost Machine, which is at 4.4, and Torchwood Adrift. but not as good as the Countryside
Mm.
at a 4.7.
Countryside's the only one beating it.
Yep.
Kiss Bang Bang also.
Oh,
That's a really high one.
Hmm.
That's a 4.9, yeah.
Which would
I'm
make
surprised
that's
that
the
that
highest.
beat Countryside, because Countryside has always been my gold bar standard for Torchwood. I'll have to see.
had to double check who voted what. Yeah.
I think me and Randy might have been the only 5s, but I could be wrong. Because
I
there would
feel
have
like
to be a few more.
I feel like there was
under that.
someone that just like was too squicked out by
It
country.
might have been
rating.
Tim. It might have
Oh,
been
that might have
Tim
been
because
Tim, right.
Torchwood never really sat well with him.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So,
the creepy ending of Countryside, because it made me happy, it's just always been the point where I have trouble sleeping afterwards.
I still remember your reaction when I did that. If it makes you happy, title card.
God damn it, Bill.
Like I said, that particular line is just like I lost sleep that night.
Mm.
It's good. But I've seen worse.
Yeah. Those listening, please let us know in the comments what you thought of random shoes. And don't forget to like or dislike the video if you feel either of those ways. Make sure to subscribe and ring the bell to keep getting our exports on YouTube, or follow us on Twitch to get our new streams every Wednesday night.
Also, let us know
All
if you
right.
think I'm right to give an extra buzz point for good music.
Next time, we go back to reviewing the 11th Doctor, and we move on from Series 5 to Series 6. Don't watch that episode of Torchwood we just talked about, because next week we explore Night Terrors, written by Mark Gatiss,
Oh,
and
no.
starring Matt Smith as the Doctor, Karen Gillan as Amy Pond, and Arthur Darvill as Rory Williams.
I didn't realize we still had Gaddis's to go through.
I didn't realize it either.
Everybody run!
I thought we had seen these all. God damn it.